Good morning, friends. My name is Tarun Sharma. Here you welcome you again in another chapter of CPU. Okay, this is a lecture which is organized by the GTU for the first year students. Today in the CPU section we will see a section of functions. So in a function, what the function is actually in the computer programming, or we can say that in C language, when the instruction is given to a computer to do a particular task, that task is to be performed with a particular name, and that name is called as functions. So in the first sections we will discuss about the introduction of function. The introduction of functions, we can say that every C program is a collection of functions, and the function is a group of statements as a single unit known by a name which is performing some well-defined task. As I told you earlier, that function is a group of statements which is assigned to the computer by the compiler to do a particular task. Then the function is very important and it is very useful for the C programming language. Then as it is a very important feature, then we are having advantages of function. First advantage is division of a large program. A large program is divided into a small modules, and each modules work independently on the independent applications, and this is a very important feature. Okay, then the second point, reduces the size of code. When the program is divided into a small module, that is the small functions, that functions reduces the size of the code, as well as the function can be used many times. Then function can be used in another program or other programs. The function, for example, we can say that the library functions, we can use it many programs. The library functions can be included in each and every program. For example, for scanf and printf, we can use that studio.h, that is standard input output h header file, and to print onto the console we can use the conio.h. In the last sections we are having that recursion. The function is a very important feature, that it can call itself. A function which is having the various definition has got the ability to call itself onto the program, and it is a very important feature. So we can say that it allows a teamwork. A function can be accumulated in a program and can be used by a particular team. So we can say that when we are going for a project in the C language, definitely we need functions. Then types of functions, we are having two types of function. First is the user defined function, which is defined by the user. Okay, the next point is library functions, built-in type functions, or the predefined functions. These functions are predefined in the C compiler, so it can be used as a part of a library function, or we can say that it is a part of a header file. Then the user defined functions. The user defined functions includes created for doing a specific task into a program, as it is defined by a user. So user will define the particular definition, and according to that particular definition we can use the function. Then a function with a particular code should be having a name. It should be assigned with a name, and this code is written once but it can be used many times. This is a very important feature. Then the library functions, as I told you earlier, to build a very complex program we use a library function. For example, if we are doing a mathematic program or we are defining a math function, so we need math.h file, which is using the many mathematical short forms, or we can say that the abbreviations which are defined by the functions. For example, the sqrt. The sqrt functions, which is a part of math.h, can be used as a library function and defines that the square root of any number. Okay, then the function, we have to use this type of library functions with macros. The macros are the part which is defined as a global variables, and it is to be included with the hash include sign. Okay. Then the function declarations. In function declarations we are starting with type function name. As I told you earlier, that it should be the function should having a particular name. Then the function name is assigned with a type. Type means the function have to return a particular value in for the executions. Then the return type shows that the type of a particular suppose we are having a function that is returning any values. If it is returning an integer, then the type will become as integers. And in the curly braces in the braces we are having arguments. These arguments defines the operations of a particular functions, what the values or what the reference is to be passed within a function limits. Okay, then in that important part we have to define the type specified the value return, the function name specifies the name of user defined functions, and the arguments. Then the function definitions. After declaration of functions, we include the operations of functions. The operation of functions which is defined in the definition of a particular function definition column. In the function definition column, we are having return value type function name and the arguments. Return value type defines the same name as it defines in the arguments, and the function names should be same as it was declared in the function declarations. Arguments can be formal parameters or the actual parameters. It can be different, but most of the times we use the same type of arguments for passing the values. Then in the curly braces we are having declarations and the statements. Declaration and the statements defines that particular operation. For example, we are doing suppose sum program, then we can define a plus b equals to sum. Then we can define the values of a, b as well as the sum in the declaration part. The declaration parts includes a particular operations, what type of definition, what type of operation we have to perform, we can give in that particular braces. This is a very important part. It will execute and it will get returns a particular values we can see in the next program. Then we are having function prototypes. As the name suggests, prototypes are the short module or the short forms. Then it is having a function name. Prototypes are also having the parameters what function takes in. Then the return type means the data types, and I want to include one thing, that the default return type in a function is a integer value. Then used to validate function, we have to check whether my function is validate or not. We have to check that the function is doing properly or giving the proper results for an appropriate amount of time. Then the prototype only needed if function definition comes after using programs. We have to use the functions, we have to use the definitions, then we can get the functions prototype. We are having an example that hash include studio.h, hash include conio.h. Then void print message. Print message, that is a particular type of function, and we are use semicolon in that part, that is a declarations. Then we are starting our main function. In the curly braces we are having clear screen, then print message, and it is a calling. We are defined that a call is there. Then when the compiler goes to that point, print message, it will check that it is a particular type of calling, and where it calls to a particular definitions. Then the definition is void print msg, that is the print message. The definition is here, and what we had defined, that our program is launching on bisect, so we have to thank the bisect also. So we have defined that printf hello bisect, and what will be the output when the compiler goes to the print message, and it will transfers the control to the functions definition, and in the definition we have print hello bisect, then it will print hello bisect. This is a very important feature, that particular definition we can use one time or many times. Another example we are having, now we are not including the declarations. I want to give you one note that why declaration are important, and in some circumstances we cannot use the declaration also. For example, when we are running a program, suppose in the last program we had seen that the print message format, then print msg cannot be known by the compiler, and if the compiler is not knowing what the print msg is of type, so we have to define or we have to declare in that particular program before the main program. here we can define the same module in the definition format before the main module. See, void print msg, that is the definition. We are not including any declaration here, you have to note this point. Then in the curly braces we are having printf hello friends. Obviously, as well as from the bisect we have to say hello to you, our viewers also. So we are helloing our friends, so hello friends. And in the main forms we are having print msg. So what happens when the compiler goes to the print msg, it will call the main definition, and what it will print, it will print hello friends to all of you. Okay, then in the next section we will discuss about the categories of functions. Obviously we are having different type of categories of functions. Many books you will find the different type of categories, but originally there are only 3 categories. First is function with no arguments and no return type. The function should be with no arguments, because we cannot define any arguments in that, and no return type, it will not return any type of value. So what it will be, it will return void. Then the function with arguments and no return types, we can define many values, many arguments in that functions, but still it is not returning any value. So we have to print that particular output in the definition of the function itself. Then function with arguments and return type. What happens, we have to define the arguments and we can define the return type. Function will return any type of values, or in the default we have told earlier that it will return integer values. It can return the many type of values, so we can print the return values accordingly. Then in the function with no arguments and no return types, we includes formal parameters and the actual parameters. Before describing the function with no arguments and no return type, I want to describe a short description about formal parameters and the actual parameters. The formal parameters are defined in the function definitions. We had seen that the variables which are defined in the definition of function is called formal parameters, and while the parameters which are used in the call functions, or we can say that the parameters which are defined in the calling of a particular program, are called as actual parameters. Then here is an example. Same example what we had seen that the particular definition, in the particular definition we have defined hello friends, and what we have defined print message to a particular call. In that particular call, in print msg, we are not defining any type of values, any type of parameters in that. So function is not having any parameters, and function will not return any value type. So what it will print, it will print same hello friends to output. Then we are having another type, function with arguments and no return type. To declare a function with a fixed number of arguments, you need to specify the data type of each argument. The data type should be declared at the time of declaration of function. Also, it is recommended to indicate that the argument names, so that the compiler can have to check, make sure that the arguments type and the name declaration in the function declaration match the implementation in the function definition. What happens, maybe it seems very confusing, that simple way is that the name of function declaration and the name of function definition should be same. For example, if we are giving sum, then in the declaration it has to be sum, and it in the definition it has to be sum. So when the two values match, it will give a particular response. Whenever the two values doesn't match, it will not give the appropriate answer. Then the errors or the syntactical error may be arise in the program. We are having an example that hash include studio.h, hash include conio.h, void sum int a and int b. Okay, what we are defining in the sum, we are defining the parameters integer a and integer v. Then the two values integer a and integer v is already defined in the declarations, and we are having main, then int I and j. The two values I and j are the actual parameters which are defining into the main program. Then in the printf, what we had entered gave two integer numbers. We have to define the two integer numbers. So in the scanf, modulus d, that is for integer sign. Then address of I and address of j, we are inserting any two values onto the consoles. Then we are calling a function, that is sum I comma j. When the sum I comma j, compiler points to a sum I comma j, then it will call, what it will call, it will call to a particular definition, and that definition should be as same as the declaration of the function. Now we can see that what is the declaration of the function, void sum int a int b. So when we talk about the definition, this is the same definition, void sum int a int b. This is a particular definition. We would also include some statements, int c is equal to a plus b, and what we are doing, sum of modulus d and modulus d equals to modulus d a b, and we are printing as well as the value of c. So for example we can take a and b, two integer values, as 2 and 3. A is equal to I equals to 2, b is equal to j equals to 3. Then by entering 2 and 3, what the outputs we will get, sum of 2 and 3, that is 2 plus 3 equals to 5. Then this type of program can define a particular functions, and here we are not returning any values, we are printing the values, or we are printing the output from the sum only. We are defining in the definition and we are printing the values in the definitions. When we are returning a value, we have to print that particular values from the main program, not from the definition of that particular program. Then the next point, that is the function with arguments and the return types. Here the function can contains many arguments, and each argument has respond to a return type. Then to declare a function with a fixed number of arguments, you need to specify the data type of each argument, and in similar manner it should return a specific value. A specific value has to be returned at the time of declaration of a function, because when we declare a functions, it will execute it and it will return a particular value. Then we are having an example, hash include studio.h, hash include conio.h, int sum int a comma b, and main in with I and j declaration of integers, we are defining one actual parameters, that is integer ans. Ans is used for the answer, and this ans can be used as the return value. We have to print the return value, and what I told you earlier, that when the return value comes, the output